welcome to the Kick-Off Webinar for the World Bank Group's Germany Roadshow, how German companies can benefit from the World Bank Group's procurement reforms. Thank you for joining us today. I see that there are still a couple of people waiting in the lobby, but we will start already. I will quickly introduce myself. My name is Patricia Bratiel. I am the World Bank Special Representative to Germany and will moderate today's webinar. This webinar is co-hosted by the Agency for Business and Economic Development, represented today by Kathi Schröder, Senior Advisor, and Germany Trade and Invest, GTAI, represented by Kirsten Hungermann, Head of Development Cooperation and Public Procurement. Today's event marks the kickoff of our procurement roadshow in Germany. With our roadshow, we want to strengthen our engagement with German companies through sector-specific outreach across the country. Seeing the agenda here, my colleague Michael Pryor will present our procurement reforms and current opportunities. Then input from practitioners who have dealt with the World Bank Group procurement will follow. After the presentation, we will have time to discuss questions. Before we end with an overview of the upcoming events of the procurement roadshow in Germany and the support services offered by GTAI. You're welcome to write questions in the chat at any time or raise your hand during our Q&A session. If you experience any technical issues, please contact us via chat. We're trying to solve them. We cannot promise that we can solve all of them, but we're trying. And yeah, please note, as said before, you should have also received a notification that this webinar will be recorded. So now it's my very great pleasure to welcome Michael Krake. He is the Deputy Director General for Climate, Energy and Environment at the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. He will open the webinar with his welcoming remarks. Michael, over to you.
Many thanks, Patricia. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm the incoming new Deputy Director General also for Economic Cooperation here at BMZ. So not only the climate guy, and in this capacity, it's a particular pleasure for me to kick off our virtual event for the roadshow on World Bank Group procurement, an idea that was born at a time when I was still based in Washington, D.C., working together with the World Bank colleagues as the German Executive Director of the institution. So it's really great that this is now going on the road, and it's great to see that there's so much interest here. Why are we doing this? BMZ is committed to strong international cooperation with multilateral development banks like the World Bank, and we are also the fourth largest shareholder of the World Bank Group. So this is a strategic partner for Germany and German development cooperation in what I would call ending poverty on a livable planet. It's kind of the shared mission we all have. And of course, the private sector is a key partner in this endeavor to achieve development objectives. So for German companies, the long-term and large-scale international projects financed by the World Bank Group offer opportunities to access the growing markets of countries in the global south, if I put it this way. So the World Bank Group's active portfolio totals something like $250 billion US. It's actually quite big, and each year goods, works, and services worth approximately 11 billion are internationally tendered. So we're talking about 11 billion. And of course, the question is, what's the share of a country like Germany or German companies on that? Between 2020 and 2025, contracts worth roughly 1.5 billion US dollars were awarded to German companies across more than 500 contracts. So primarily in the areas of goods and consulting services. So this is what we are talking about, what we have right now. This is encouraging, but there's always a but. Recent figures show a declining trend, a trend we are committed to reverse in the framework of what we at BMZ have as a reform agenda for development cooperation, where we focus more on mutual interests, and we also have an action plan for economic cooperation that we introduced also together with the World Bank President Ajay Banga last October here in Berlin. So that is basically the political framework behind that. So and now we need to become more concrete. So at the same time, the World Bank Group's interest in innovative solutions from the German economy has grown. That we know from our dialogues. German SMEs are market and innovation leaders in various segments and are capable of developing viable concepts and infrastructure for projects worldwide. Yes, we can do it. We would like to further promote this potential in our mutual interest, as the participation of German SMEs in World Bank Group tenders not only offers an attractive business opportunity for the companies themselves, it's also that technology and the know-how from Germany make an important contribution to the innovation and quality of World Bank projects, thereby delivering added value to the partner countries and the people in these countries that benefit from these projects. So we really think we bring something to the table here in substance. And as a German, of course, you don't wonder if I say quality is key. So therefore, we appreciate the recent procurement reforms undertaken by the World Bank, and we have put, as the German chair, strong emphasis on that as well. The reforms put a stronger focus on quality and sustainability criteria in the tender process. And that's important as well, they will have a more structured market dialogue prior to tendering, what is an important element to better position, let's say, business expertise and of course also German expertise. So more focus on quality and sustainability and more early market involvement, more structure around that are some innovations that are now in the procurement system. There is really an opportunity here. We hope we can tap into this potential as Germany. Others will try to do it as well. So there's of course also competition, but we want to prepare ourselves for this. I'm very pleased about the interest in today's kickoff and wish us a productive exchange. And with that, I give it back to you, Patricia. I think I stick to the 5 minutes, more or less.
Yeah, you did perfectly. Thank you so much, Michael, also for your continued support to our procurement roadshow in Germany. This is very well appreciated. Thank you. Now we will turn to the World Bank Group's procurement reforms and the opportunities arising for German companies. Before starting with the presentation, we are happy to hear a short video statement from Joachim Goldbeck, Managing Director of Goldbeck Solar GmbH and head of the executive board of BSW Solar, on the importance of the procurement reforms. Please start. I don't know if it's me, but I cannot hear a sound.
Yeah, I also cannot hear.
Okay, I'm not alone. I'm happy I'm not alone. So,
I try one more time. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much.
The German solar industry has been active in international markets for many years and is committed to delivering reliable and sustainable energy solutions worldwide. In this context, the reform of the World Bank's procurement guidelines is an important and very welcome step. Strengthening quality and sustainability criteria alongside price will ensure that public investments lead to long-lasting, high-performing energy infrastructure. We also strongly support the World Bank's intention to intensify dialogue with industry ahead of tenders. This is helping to align procurement processes with market realities, which will eventually improve project outcomes. The German Solar Association stands ready to contribute its expertise and looks forward to continue the joint efforts with the World Bank and its partners.
Thank you very much for the video. I will hand over to my colleague, Michael Pryor, who will walk us through our procurement framework, key changes and upcoming opportunities. As a reminder, feel free to send questions and comments in English, or if you prefer in German, in the chat at any time, and we will respond to them during the Q&A session. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Patricia, and welcome everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to see so many people online to listen to this. I just want to talk a little bit at first about who the World Bank is. I'm guessing the vast majority of people online will know that, but often people don't quite sort of fully realise the extent of what the World Bank does. We are a multilateral development bank, as Michael mentioned. We're the largest amongst the MDBs, and our specific mission is to end poverty and shared prosperity on a livable planet. So that governs everything that the bank does. And what we do is provide lending and grant funding to our borrower countries who, for the World Bank, are low and middle income countries around the world. And there's just some statistics at the bottom of the page there that just give you a flavour of the sort of things that we get involved in. If you could move on to the next slide, please. Thank you. There are 5 separate parts of the bank, but there's a great deal of work going on at present to try and work as one unified bank and do as much of as we can in combination with each other. But for the purposes of this discussion, what I'm mostly going to focus on is the first 2 of those institutions, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD, and the International Development Association, IDA. Those are the 2 parts of the bank that provide financing to middle income and low income countries. And that's the subject of the procurement changes that we're going to be talking about in this presentation. We provide money to our borrower countries in relation to specific projects that they agree with the bank. And those borrowers then carry out the various procurements that they need to do to deliver that project, partially using funding that comes from the World Bank. So that gives rise to a very large number of procurements annually to underpin the projects and deliver the bank's overall objectives. Next slide, please. And just to pick up on one of the questions that's just come up in the chat, yes, we'll share all of these slides, so there's no need for everyone to furiously write down everything in the presentation. We'll send that on to you afterwards. Just some more examples of what the bank's currently involved in. Mission 300 in Africa is an overall program that seeks to provide a reliable electricity supply to 300 million people in Africa by 2030. And there are similar initiatives in the field of water as well to try and provide reliable water supplies to populations across the world. And then just some statistics there around health services, job creation, all of which underpins the projects that the bank carries out. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, what we're going to focus on is the activities that IBRD and IDA carry out. Those are the 2 parts of the bank that most people probably recognise as being the World Bank, the parts that provide lending to our borrowers. So we provide loans, credits and grants and guaranteed financing to those borrower governments. And the focus is on physical and social infrastructure, which seeks to adhere to the bank's overall objectives of reducing poverty and creating sustainable development. There's around 250 billion of active current total commitments going on within those 2 parts of the World Bank. And that gives rise to over 40,000 procurement opportunities every year. And those cover works, goods, consulting and non-consulting services. And just at the bottom of the page there, over $1.25 billion worth of contracts were awarded to suppliers based in Germany in that time period. And that is made up of over 400 contracts that have been signed in that same period. So as Michael mentioned, German companies contribute a huge amount to what the bank does. The German government is, as Michael said, one of the major shareholders in the bank. So that makes Germany extremely important to the bank's procurement activities and why we particularly wanted to support this roadshow. Next slide, please. This slide gives you an idea of where we're most active across the world. As you can see, it's sub-Saharan Africa accounts for around 1/3 of our global commitments. but a lot of activity takes place in Europe and Central Asia, Latin America, and pretty much everywhere in the world amongst low and middle income nations. I'll talk a little bit about pipeline projects at the end of this presentation, time allowing, but it covers a whole variety of sectors, including energy, transport and water. Next slide, please. On this slide, we can see the various roles of the parties involved in the bank's activity. So the bank itself ensures funds are used for the purpose with which they were granted. So there's a high degree of oversight from the bank on our borrowers as they're carrying out the various procurement activities that they undertake to deliver their project objectives. And there's a system of prior and post-procurement reviews that the bank undertakes to make sure that the governance around all of those procurements is correct and in line with the bank's objectives. And we provide a great deal of support to borrowers in implementing those procurements, both directly with our teams around the world that are supporting borrowers on the ground, and a wealth of material that the bank deploys to assist borrowers in that procurement activity. Our client countries, well, it's for them to decide how they want to undertake the various procurements that they need to deliver to adhere to their project objectives. They're the ones that carry out the procurement. So the bank isn't a party to the contracts that are formed. It's between borrowers and suppliers that those contracts are signed. The country itself will carry out the procurement, seek offers from the market, carry out evaluation, appoint their preferred bidder or a tenderer, sign the contracts and then manage them. But that is all done with the support of the bank teams working with our suppliers, our client countries. And for the suppliers themselves, well, we'd look to them to get involved in early market engagement, as Michael mentioned, and also as Joachim mentioned in the video that you saw. The suppliers will need to familiarise themselves with the projects and the country with which they might be seeking to do business. And suppliers will identify and respond to opportunities where they feel that they can actively participate in a procurement and add value to it. And we'd like feedback from your experience. For us, one of the purposes of these outreach exercises and roadshows that are taking place in Germany are to hear your views about the bank, about pursuing bank-funded opportunities and what it feels like to experience that. The World Bank has a procurement framework that is applied to all projects and procurements within those projects. And as has been said, what we want those projects and procurements to focus on is quality and good value for money, taking place within the specific context of that country. Next slide, please. We think there are a great many benefits for suppliers in pursuing bank-funded procurement opportunities. As we've seen, there are billions of dollars worth of opportunities available every year to suppliers around the globe. Those projects take place pretty much everywhere on the planet, and it's a great opportunity for suppliers to enter developing markets and expand their operations into low and middle income countries if they're not operating in those markets already. Pursuing bank funding opportunities provides you with a high level of assurance that suppliers will be treated equally and fairly in all of these procurements. There's a clear process that's overseen by the bank and very high standards of integrity. So you can be assured that if you are pursuing a bank-funded procurement, that procurement will be undertaken according to a strict code of conduct, if you like, and there's a very high certainty of payment at the end of the process under the terms of the contract. The contracts available come in a huge range of sizes, from multi-billion-dollar projects all the way through to smaller consulting opportunities, for example. So there's opportunities available for not only large multinationals, but also SMEs across the world as well. We work in a huge number of sectors, and the degree of specialization needed within those contracts is high. Those of you that have pursued bank funded opportunities already will appreciate that. But the contracts on offer are of a huge variety and would work for a very wide range of organizations. And one of the reasons that we're supporting roadshows and business outreach activities is that we want to widen the range of high quality suppliers who are pursuing bank funded opportunities. At the moment, as we'll see shortly, a lot of contracts go in certain directions. What we'd like to do is attract suppliers in Europe, North America, Southeast Asia, who are of a very high quality, who can bid for these opportunities and deliver highly successful outcomes. Next slide, please. So Michael and Joachim both mentioned the change programme. What the bank did was undertake market soundings to find out what suppliers thought of the way the bank does its business. And what we heard back suggested that we needed to place much more focus on quality in deciding who the preferred bidder was in procurements. I think there was a concern in the market that too many contracts were being awarded to the lowest priced bidder. So we wanted to change all of that. We also wanted to engage much earlier in the process with the market and give the market an opportunity to feedback and share its thoughts on individual procurements before they actually commenced. And we've been doing a great deal of thinking about the optimum way to present contracts to the market, aggregating them where that's appropriate or disaggregating them where it seems to make more sense to present opportunities in smaller chunks to the market. We've widened the range of circumstances in which direct payment takes place, so the bank pays directly the suppliers for the work that they've done. We've improved our complaint handling system, and we've put a lot more resource into expanding our activity around building the capacity of our borrowers to undertake more complex procurements. And we also mandated a minimum 30% of labour costs in an individual contract being allocated to employing local workers. So all of that has happened in the last year to 18 months, and that's all been in response to feedback from the market about how the bank undertook its procurements and what they'd like to see in the future. Next slide, please. So just to say a little bit more about rated criteria. For some years, for the last 10 years, the use of rated criteria has been part of how procurements might be evaluated in bank-funded projects, but now that's been made mandatory. From now on, as of last March, at least 50% of quality weighting in an evaluation must be allocated to quality for international procurements. So that's been placed front and centre in terms of evaluation. So from now on, most contract award decisions will be based chiefly on quality rather than price. Next slide, please. And then on early market engagement, that is also now mandatory for international procurements where they are over $10 million in value. So what we mean by early market engagement is a structured interaction between the buyer, the borrower, and the suppliers who might bid for an opportunity before the formal procurement actually begins. So there's a chance for a dialogue, for potential suppliers to express their views about a procurement, offer their ideas, and try and shape the procurement in the most effective way possible to make it as attractive as possible to a wide range of good quality suppliers. That could include events like this, webinars or face-to-face briefings, one-to-one meetings, workshops, or simply publishing and exchanging information via, for example, requests for information. We post early market engagement events on our website. There'll be details of that a bit later on in the presentation, so you can access that. But our borrowers post upcoming early market engagement events on that site. So if you visit regularly, you'll be able to see upcoming events that our borrowers are launching. So you have a chance to get involved. Next slide, please. On local labour, 30% of the labour costs in any proposal or contract must now be allocated to employing local workers. So that's quite an important thing for supply chains. If you're an international supplier bidding for an opportunity, there'll be the need to think about your supply chain and how you can tap into the local workforce. I think for most high quality suppliers, and certainly European ones, this shouldn't be an issue. That would probably be what they'd be doing as a matter of course, because that's the way they would do business. But now it's something that has become a requirement because we want to transfer skills to the local workforce, retain jobs and keep the local economies flowing as effectively as possible as a result of the bank's activity or the bank's funded activities in an individual country. Next slide, please. We talked a little about this sustainability in the first two short presentations. That's something that is of a crucial importance to the bank. We're looking at local and low carbon supply chains quite intensively because the sorts of projects that the bank funds tend to be quite intensive in terms of emissions, using cement, steel, etc. So we think that one of the areas where high quality European suppliers and suppliers from Germany can assist us is in placing a higher focus on low carbon solutions for the opportunities that present themselves. We think suppliers like that are much better equipped to be able to help meet this sustainability objective. Next slide, please. Just very briefly, in terms of finding opportunities with the World Bank, most of the opportunities are going to arise during the implementation phase. So this is when a procurement has started. You'll have an opportunity to bid for the procurements within each project. But there are shorter term consultancy opportunities much earlier on in the cycle, during the initial phases of a project when it's being prepared, for example, that may be of interest to certain entities like consultancies. Next slide, please. So I mentioned the Suppliers Hub earlier in the presentation. You'll get this slide, so you'll be able to see that QR code quite clearly. But if you follow it, you'll be taken to a page on the bank's website that provides you with all the information you need as a potential supplier to the bank. It'll tell you about opportunities coming up. You'll be able to find all of the information around the bank's procurement guidelines and its policies, see what e-learning is available, find out about events and webinars, and sign up for email alerts for upcoming procurement. So everything is there on one page. You won't need to hunt around the bank's website to find any of this. We've tried to make it as easy as possible to find all the information that you need. Next slide, please. So projects in the pipeline. we've got around 200 major projects with a total proposed commitment of over $40 billion. And these are typically in energy, transport and water sectors. So in the energy sectors, we've got projects coming up in hydropower, transmission and distribution, energy transition. In transport, we see a lot of railway projects, roads and highways, urban mobility and connectivity. And in water, we see a large number of irrigation, water supply and sanitation projects. So just to give you a flavour of the sorts of projects that are available in sectors that I'm sure there are many active German suppliers who may be looking at these. Next slide, please. I don't want to spend too long going through this because I'm very conscious of the time. We've only got a couple of minutes left. But this slide does give you some tips around preparing bids and proposals if you're thinking of pursuing a bank-funded opportunity. So it's probably worth just using this as a checklist just to make sure that what you're doing is going to meet all of the requirements that you're being asked for. Next slide. And just in that same vein, tips around avoiding calamity. We often see bids coming forward with no bid security or not enough bid security, documents missing, parts missing from the proposals, even proposals that aren't actually signed, and some obvious conflicts of interest as well. So just a few things to look out for to avoid things going wrong. Next slide, please. So in terms of borrower countries by contract award, India, Pakistan, Turkey are our big three, receiving most of the awards that you see on that slide. But I think it's the next slide, if we can move on to that, that's perhaps a little bit more interesting. This is the supplier countries by contract award. So this is the countries from which suppliers come who are being awarded contracts. And as you can see, China and India are very dominant there. And we'd like to involve far more European suppliers. We'd like to see countries like Germany further up that list on that slide. That is the objective of the outreach programme that we're undertaking. If you could move on to the next one. These next few slides, I'm not going to go through them because they're quite detailed, but you'll receive them in the slide pack. What these do is tell you about some opportunities that are coming up fairly soon in a number of key sectors. So we've got projects in health and nutrition. If you can keep flicking through, Greta, that'd be great. Energy projects, water, and digital. So those are the main areas that the roadshows that are coming up in face-to-face sessions during May and June in Germany will be focusing on. And I'm sure we'll hear about those a bit later on in the presentation. But for now, thanks very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Michael, for this overview. Now we will turn to the private sector voices and hear their views on engaging with the World Bank Group finance projects. I'm very happy to welcome our representatives, and we will hear briefly from each of them and then move to the Q&A. And first, I would like to turn to Dr. Nada Imani, Vice President of Global Education at Festo Didactic SE. From your perspective, what has been your experience with the World Bank Group's approach to early market engagement?
Thank you, Patricia. Yes, I'll try to be brief, maybe like a 3 to 5 minutes max, so I can really bring my long-standing experience with the World Bank. So, being in the education sector for the last 34 years, and World Bank has been one of the stakeholders that have been interacting already beginning of 90s. And I would like to refer very much to the several topics that has been mentioned by Mr. Krake, but also by Mr. Goldberg, and also by Mr. Pure. quality and sustainability, and that's more than procurement only. So it's a journey that we are undertaking together with the borrower and with the client of the bank.
Einen Termin um 3 zu machen. Ich glaube, dann bin ich hier aus diesem Call raus. Jetzt war ich eh schon 20 Minuten raus, weil Robert hier war.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so and I think one of the most important slides that Mr. Prior has mentioned, and actually to me, is the project life cycle, and it is very much important to understand what is that all about. So a project life cycle lasts for something like in between 5 to 8 years, and the implementation would be probably the bulk of this period of time. But what is really happening is before is very much decisive to the way that implementation is going to happen. So yes, the procurement is happening in the procurement in the implementation phase, but what is really happening before, it's really much important, and that's early engagement. And throughout the different interactions, I think we have the beauty, the German industry, to have a representative of the German industry and trade sitting in Washington, and through this office, we have been already having a lot of interaction with the World Bank, different departments, sector departments, geographical departments, procurement departments, etc. And through these interactions, we can really bring a couple of really insight views, and in terms of innovation, in terms of what really needs to be done, in terms of politics and policy making from the World Bank, and have those projects to the maximum return for money. And I would like to say investments, return on investment at the end, because it's all about money that country members, they will have to pay back. So the very much obvious advantages for the bank officers and the bank project directors is, of course, the practicality of what really the companies and members from Germany, they would like to really bring to these topics, to this cooperation. There is also the topic of basically innovation at the early stage. So whatever you are innovating here, it would be very much fine-tuned and articulated around the solution that the end customer is actually looking for. And of course, all that also in terms of pre-preparing let's say the implementation phase, and that's also very much important. So that's, for example, that would be also avoiding different topics of pitfalls. So typical topics like, for example, Mr. Pure has been mentioning about Mission 300 very much, but at the end, this has to be done through women and men. And that's also about skill development, about capability, about feasibility. So that's also very much important. When it comes to the company, that's also very much important to say, when we talk about innovation, is it going to be placed in terms of demand? Do we have a room for innovation when it comes to the implementation phase? And of course, at the end is also a better market entry for the companies coming. So all in all, you can see there is a lot of wins and takes for the companies offering, but also for the bank. That is very much important overall, fighting poverty and also providing solutions for job creations. And for my company that has been involved in a couple of World Bank projects, I had the honor to work with four institutions out of the 5 that Mr. Prior was mentioning. And I think that is very important. I would like to very much encourage any company here from Germany to have engagement. I think this is absolutely disproportionate to see that we have only a 1.8% of the bank activities, where you just consider Germany as one of the biggest shareholders of the bank. So yes, let's work more interactively together. I think we have this beautiful instrument of BBL, this brown bag launch, that is very much offered to any company to be used, and in order to provide and disseminate innovation inside of the bank leadership. So that would be maybe a kind of experience, 30 plus experience years in a nutshell, and I would be very much pleased to answer any question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Imani. This is very helpful. I believe we also have time for more questions during our Q&A. And for now, I believe we would first move to another practitioner first, and then also come back to you. Now we are moving to Hamid Behessi, who's the CEO of Boreal Light GmbH, for a short statement on his experience working with World Bank projects.
Sure. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to you. Yeah. Probably the one that I would like to report is a bit different than the previous one we just heard from Seimani, is on the benefit we could get from one of the programs we just heard about from IFC. IFC and the specialty guarantee program of IFC, MEGA, helps us a lot in convincing the communities, especially governments. We are working with them in Africa and Latin America. So this was a special case. This was a special case, particularly because when we speak about World Bank, it's different than the other finance institutions we are working with, especially in the project of or investment into projects of Latin America or Africa, in a sense that the local governments, the authorities that we are dealing with, when we deal with any type of governmental national projects, thinking about not paying us in those projects, they should think about 3 times, 4 times, thinking about any of such risk than any other finance institutions, because many of other programs of those governments are tied to World Bank, IFC, and MEGA. In the political support, MEGA gives when we are dealing with the governments, when we are dealing with authorities that is far away from Germany, far away from Europe, so it's a bit challenging for us to manage. That support is a key one. So I can say it's a driver of or water projects. We are in the water business, so it's a driver for water projects, large scale water projects, when we deal with World Bank and the programs of World Bank, IFC, MEGA. And I had a meeting with Mr. Banga, it was like 2 years ago in Berlin. And this all came from that specific meetings when we decided, instead of just going to some huge, large projects of 100 million or so, we make a basket of projects for such countries. Such countries, when we speak about 100 million euro or so, it's very hard to get and define a project of that size. So for the water sector, coming to any projects of 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, then looking to that as a basket of the project was a good decision. And then with the support of IFC, we could have developed a good basket of 100 million euro for Latin America in one side and also for eastern part of Africa. So in a nutshell, I can say the service any of the private sector receives, especially from the support and the structure of IFC MEGA, for us in the private sector is very decisive, and it's a game changer when we are dealing with governments who are always difficult to deal with. That's a quick impression.
Thank you so much. I believe I was there at this meeting with Ajay Banga.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it was a very interesting meeting. Very nice. Thank you so much. Now we will hear from Florian Wertmann, CEO of Ecologicon and member of the board of the German WeTech partnership. Mr. Wertmann, the floor is yours.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm sitting here together with my colleague, Ms. Schlegel from German WeTech Partnership as well. And Lukas Dörr, our head of the board, will join in a moment as well. We are representing German WeTech Partnership is an organization with about 50 members in the waste management sector in Germany. We have member firms which are in the consulting field for waste management, which are equipment manufacturers and leading projects. As far as the World Bank opportunities are concerned, what we are seeing, we're seeing great opportunities in general for international projects, which is our scope. Nevertheless, asking our member base at this time, we found out that there's only a handful of members, like 4 to 5 members so far, that were really engaged and were really active in World Bank projects, while we have about 40 to 45 specialized, highly specialized members ready to deliver quality, ready to deliver know-how, ready to deliver solutions made in Germany to World Bank's project in the world. So that's why we think a big goal would be, or a big point would be, to make projects more accessible to our member base as well in Germany, to really work on helping our members understand better what possibilities they would have with World Bank projects and how to get access to it, to understand the procurement process process. And that's why we are really looking forward to working together with the World Bank on the roundtable event in terms of IFAD trade show, which is coming up in May, to really use this opportunity to bring our member base better together and become more active there. Other than we just saw in the previous slides, in the brief preview, that there is no big waste management projects lining up at the moment. So we hope that this will change and that there will be opportunities, or that there are opportunities which we are sure about. So far for our side from German RATEC.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wettmann. Let us know also if Mr. Dürr is going to join you later, and maybe you can also give us a testimonial. But for now, first of all, thank you to all speakers. We will now move to the Q&A questions or section of the webinar until around 3:15. We're trying to be strict with time management, but let's see. And yeah, we're looking forward to discussing your questions. But I think the first thing I would like to do is to turn to you again, Michael. Maybe you would like to also comment on the testimonials. And then I would encourage everyone to raise their hand if they have questions. We also have questions in the chat. But first, over to you, Michael.
Thanks, Patricia. Yeah, I was really interested to hear some of the comments in the testimonials. I think we've made a lot of progress over the last 18 months or so, but I think the more of these events that I do, the more I'm conscious that we still need to do a lot more work, and there still are improvements that we need to make. I think one of the challenges for us is around the capacity of our borrowers to go with us on this. So I think, just for example, relating to one of the first questions in the chat around quality and how do you evaluate quality, that's a big challenge for a lot of our borrowers. It's a territory that they've never been in before. It's been very easy to make a decision based on price. But if suddenly they've got to develop a set of quality criteria that need to be used in evaluation, that's quite a big challenge for them. So I think each and every step forward that we make needs to be carefully supported. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the questions, I think. But yes, it's interesting to hear the comments and the need to work as one bank alongside MEGA and IFC to make sure that what we do is properly joined up. Did you want to sort of work through some of the questions that have appeared in the chat?
Yeah, exactly. You have probably seen already, Michael, and already. Okay, maybe we will start with the verbal question first. Johannes Wölke, maybe you can quickly introduce yourself and pose your question. That would be appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Johannes Wölke, Managing Director of the consulting firm Unique Land Use, based in Germany. Maybe I'm a bit of an exotic species, but I think there are also some other consulting firms online, so I hope I'm not completely off. My question obviously relates to the consulting services, and we have been doing a lot of assignments for the World Bank Group over the last, 10, 15 years. But what we have observed the last couple of months, almost a year, is that the number and volumes of assignments which have been tendered directly by the World Bank through WBG, eProcure, etc., has been going down significantly. And we are doing a lot of projects. As I said, I've been World Bank staff myself for many years, so we are in constant exchange with practice managers and TTLs, and they confirm, yes, that the new policy is that the budget spent on consulting firms will decrease in the future, that there will be a budget ceiling not only this financial year but probably also in the next financial years. the level I'm talking to, practice managers, etc., they were also not sure where this comes from, how long this policy will be in place. So I was wondering, maybe Michael or somebody else if you could shed some lights on this, whether you can confirm this and what the prospects are for consulting firms.
Michael, shall we bundle a couple of questions, or do you want to go question by question?
I think probably I don't want to miss any, and I guess if we run out of time and do miss any, we could probably follow up with a short note. But
definitely,
maybe if we start with the quality criteria one.
Yes,
I've been doing procurements for decades, where it's been completely normal to evaluate quality alongside price. But as I said, it is for a lot of our borrowers a relatively new concept. I think what we're talking about here is developing a suite of rated criteria that allow a weighting and a score to be awarded to a set of criteria that are seeking to measure what quality means. So it's something that would work procurement by procurement. But what we've developed is a library of potential criteria that can be used sector by sector, and that's available to our borrowers. So if anyone on this call or attending this webinar has some thoughts about what would be appropriate rated criteria for use in the sectors in which they're involved, it would be useful to hear those. We've developed a lot of training and fact sheets around using rated criteria. So there's a wealth of information that we're in the process of developing that will support our borrowers to do that. But essentially what we're trying to do is create a structure in which anything that isn't price can be measured and given a objective score that can be used alongside price in achieving an overall score for a proposal, and then on to what the preferred bidder might be. So I don't think we're trying to do anything dramatically different to what the vast majority of you will be used to seeing in procurements in which you're involved in Germany, in Europe, etc. But what we're trying to do is introduce that concept into our low and middle income borrower countries. So I think that's how I would answer that. But I've got my colleague Julie Farmer also on the line who might wish to add in something to that if I've missed anything. Julie, if you have anything else that you'd add?
I think the only thing to repeat, really, Michael, just to emphasize how seriously we take this, is we've rolled out training across the globe on rated criteria to both staff and to clients. We've had over 250 procurement staff trained, and they've then gone out and so we've had a trainer session. So we recognise the difficulty and capacity issues that some of our clients have, particularly around these new areas, but we do want to address it and make sure that they properly look at quality and address it in a way that is fair and transparent. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Julie.
Okay, great. Thank you. Maybe before we talk about the consultants, I can also talk about this consultant sector and the World Bank, because I think it's also related to talk about quality and the local labor force. In Works, we have now, a 30% local labor requirement, and there was also a question in the chat, Michael, regarding the 30% local workforce. Will contract opportunities be tailored to include local workforce? And and maybe you can clarify a little bit on how this is meant and how this is tailored and what it means in practice. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. It's actually quite easy to answer. As you mentioned, Patricia, 30% applies to works contracts. So what we're talking about here is contracts that will typically involve a large on-the-ground workforce to construct whatever asset it is that's being built. It doesn't work for consultancies, and as it says in the question, if something is being manufactured, if components are being manufactured outside of the country and bought in, it doesn't apply either. So what we're really trying to get at here is where a project needs a large workforce on the ground to deliver it, 30% of that workforce should be local. And I think that's very easy to achieve for most suppliers because it's most likely what they would do anyway. So hopefully that makes that one clear.
Okay, great. Yeah.
And there's a third question around, do we support waste management projects, waste to energy? Yes, we do. Those projects do appear in the opportunities from time to time. I think as the questioner pointed out, they perhaps don't appear in amongst the very largest contracts, but they're certainly there, and those opportunities do arise. So the answer to that one is yes.
Okay, great, Michael. Maybe because I see that Mr. Dörr just joined our colleagues at RETEC. Mr. Dörr, you're very welcome to also give a testimonial. You are the chair of the executive board of the German RETEC partnership and the head of export business development at Frauen Umwelttechnik. And yeah, we're really happy to also hear your intervention.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. As my colleagues already mentioned, from the RETEC perspective, we have some members with very, very good experience with the World Bank projects, and we also, from a perspective as a supplier from the garbage trucks, we had some projects we tried to, but from time to time there is definitely a challenge with the quality of components made in Germany, and if this is something what we as a RETEC really can achieve to get in the future, that this made in Germany is really a key thing also for future World Bank projects, then I'm pretty sure that our members are 100% focused and 100% happy to participate and on the tenders and go with you.
Great, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much. We have a couple of more questions and also comments. There is one, Michael, you mentioned that there's a complaint mechanism. How does it work, and what are the themes and resolution pathways? Is there a procedure so that this can be assessed publicly? Can you probably also elaborate a little bit on how these complaint mechanisms work?
Yes, so there's a clear complaint mechanism set out. So you should be able to access that via the web page that I mentioned. It will form part of the set of policy and guidance, and it will be clearly set out in the contracts as well. But I think, as I mentioned, every project and every borrower has a local bank procurement team supporting them, and they're there really to support a complaints mechanism if such a thing is required. So the first port of call would be the borrower to complain via the procedures set out in the contract, but the bank is there should that not work to provide an opportunity to follow up. It's not an area I've been involved in myself in very much detail, but we can probably in following up on the questions, we could probably give a little bit more background to that if that would be helpful.
Okay, yeah, great. We will do that for sure. Now I have a question that also received a couple of likes. I think it concerns a lot of German companies. What is the type of support for small and mid-sized companies in terms of dealing with complex tendering requirements and processes? Any recommendations to this issue? Maybe, yeah, I think that's one of our favorite questions because we believe that the procurement framework has done a good job. So yeah, Michael, over to you.
Yes, so there's probably quite a few things to say about this. So we've tried to make the process of bidding for bank opportunities as simple as possible. So we have standard contracts that we use, which are typically based on FIDIC contracts, which I'm sure many of you will be familiar with. And we have standard procurement documents, which are in the process of being updated and refreshed at the moment. So in terms of the documentation that you'll see to support a particular opportunity, those will follow a bank template in effect. And while they're quite long and onerous, I don't think they're any longer and more onerous than many other procurement documents that you see, but they do follow a very clear template and good industry practice. So I think if you are following a bank opportunity and see the documentation, there's nothing particularly unusual about any of them. It's the first thing I'd say. There is a lot of support available as a supplier. There's material that you can access. Patricia, you mentioned the procurement framework. All of that is visible to suppliers through the website. So you can see exactly how the bank sets out its requirements for individual procurements and the criteria that borrowers have to follow in doing all of that. There's training, fact sheets, e-learning modules available to provide support. And you have teams in each country to support you as well. So several of them are with us here today, including Patricia. So, there are always people in the bank that you can turn to seek advice if you need it. But I don't think what we ask for small and mid-sized companies is any more onerous. People might have their opinions about that differ from that statement, but the intention is that there's a high degree of standardization in terms of bidding documents.
Thank you, Michael.
That helps.
Yeah, otherwise, please raise your hand or comment in the chat and we will try to clarify. We have another comment also on consultancies, maybe because I had a bit of a connection issue. So if I repeat myself, do stop me, Michael. But when it comes to the short-term consultancies, there's part of the bank, there will be different formats going forward. And the bank tries to become a little bit clearer in roles of this is staff, this is consultancy, these are vendors. But when it comes to consultancies and vendors, we also have a question in the chat, and there is a thanks going out to Florian for his testimonial. It says, you raised exactly the point that bothers us most, accessibility and visibility of procurement opportunities for small consultancies. I'm not completely convinced that I must not hunt around to find these. Made very mixed experiences with World Bank platforms and procurement procedures. So what is the best way to go forward and for the platform to use? Maybe we can have Michael, but also Florian to respond to this. Yeah, if that's okay, Florian. I don't want to put you on the spot, but yeah, if you have an opinion, feel free.
It's fine. It's fine. And Michael, if you allow, I wanted to pass that question on to you anyhow, but it's exactly the feelings I have as well, and the feedback we get, especially from a lot of colleagues in our organization, that the procedure is quite complex and for many players not understandable what's the best way to go out. lot. So I think it's really important to work on a in-depth understanding on the procedures, on how to line up, how to get the information to be able to even quote and understand that there's projects going on which are in the field of expertise. But I think, Michael, you're the best person to answer this.
Okay. So a couple of things to say about that. I think the first thing I'd mention is the question about direct procurement, where the World Bank itself is procuring a consultancy, or is it around where one of our borrowers is procuring a consultancy as part of one of their projects? Because those are two quite different systems.
This is maybe it's good to explain both, because I mean there is also a difference in these procedures. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I was going to say as well.
Yeah, carry on. Yeah. So the World Bank does undertake its own procurements where it is seeking, for example, consultancies to come and work for the bank to do something very specific that the bank needs. And that's handled by a completely different part of the bank. We have our own corporate procurement team that handle that. I think if the problems that you're experiencing are on that side, then that's something that we could take back to our corporate procurement colleagues in terms of their feedback. And we'd be very happy to do that if there's any sort of specific examples that you can let us have. What we're talking about here is potential consultancy work that our borrowers are seeking in support of one of the projects that they're undertaking. And I think, again, I'm conscious that there are issues with that in terms of people easily being able to find opportunities in our systems. One of the common complaints that I get is if you go in looking for consultancy opportunities in marine technology, for example, you'll find those, but what you'll also be given is the bank seeking individual consultants to help with a particular project rather than consulting firms to do a more substantial piece of work. So I think there is something around the filters in our bank systems that I am happy to accept don't work terribly well in all circumstances. And that's a common bit of feedback that we've been given from suppliers that we're trying to resolve. We're in the middle of a big project to redevelop our procurement systems, and I think how it interfaces with opportunities is part of that. So I think in the next year or two there'll be improvements, but certainly yes, I think trying to find an individual opportunity on the bank systems, I'm not going to pretend that it is easy to do. They're not the most user-friendly systems, I am happy to confess.
It became better though, so that's this is probably on the good side. We have a couple of more questions. I'm trying to rush through them, but we will also follow up on any questions we can't respond to in the given time. So there is one question, Michael, in the chat of life cycle procurement and compatibility with local laws. Do you have any views on that?
Yes, it's something that we are very conscious of, and we're starting to do a lot of work in that area, because it is quite important, we think. And so we're in the middle of drafting some guidance for clients and our own bank staff on that very subject. And what we're trying to do is work together with the other multilateral development banks on guidance on circularity, so that all of the banks are acting in a consistent way and providing consistent advice to their borrowers. So it's something that all of the MDBs are working on together at the moment. I don't know what the time scale is for completing that, but I would be hopeful that sometime this year something will come out on that, because because you're right, it is something that can very easily get overlooked, that borrowers don't give enough thought to the life cycle cost or the full lifetime cost of the asset that they're seeking to procure when they're making procurement decisions, and that's something that we see as being very important.
Great, thank you. We also have a comment on the quality charter. We will pass this on to our colleagues in the education practice, and due to time issues, I would now move to the next question, but thank you very much for sharing this. So the next question is, can you share some more information about the intention to integrate CO2 emission management into World Bank Group finance procurement, as this could give a competitive advantage for German bidders? Will CO2 management uptake be mandatory upon borrowers, or will it, quote unquote, just be of a recommendatory nature?
Great, thanks, Patricia. I'll maybe ask Julie if she wants to make some comments on this, because this is an area that Julie's had some involvement. Julie, would you like to say something on that? You're on mute.
Apologies. Yeah, happy to pick that up, Michael. It's an area that I've been working on with our team and with other MDBs for the last 12 months. We have a dedicated project looking at low carbon products, low carbon supply chains. We're producing a methodology which will go to our heads of procurement at a meeting in September. That's the heads of the procurement for all the MDBs. So it's something that we're very serious about. It's coming hopefully later this year. It will be a recommendation initially, just to reflect the fact that it's so new to our many of our clients. They're low income, low capacity countries. And so we're going to have to introduce it gradually and help them think about and learn about carbon emissions and how they can bring it into their procurement. And just to give you a little bit of flavour with on that, we're therefore thinking about 3 different levels. There'll be a sort of those who are very new to it, those who are interested in it and want to progress, and those who are more experienced in countries that are more experienced in carbon emissions. So watch this space, something later this year, and hopefully something that can help German companies. Thank you.
We'll cross fingers, Julie, at least from the German perspective. Thank you. The next question is my understanding correct? The procurement changes made do not affect project tendered out via IFC?
Yes, that's correct. What we've been talking about is only those 2 parts of the bank, the IBRD and IDA parts. IFC's operations, although we do work together very frequently, for example, in a PPP type project environment, these rules apply to procurements that emerge from IBRD and IDA funding and not through IFC.
Yeah, which is also the much larger share of our procurement, just an FYI. But yeah, we have one question. Is there any new finance policy by the World Bank? I'm not sure if you mean like in general, the overall finance policy, then I mean, happy to direct you also to the website or, in a different channel. If it's about new procurement policies, I believe we're constantly working on listening to the market and making it better. But Michael, maybe also for, just for people to understand again how we are working on this policy space within the World Bank on procurement. And for any other questions, we're happy to follow up separately.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm not aware of any specific finance policy that is sort of. I must admit, I don't quite understand what the question is. I think if I was being honest. So if Naoma wants to follow up with us, then I'm happy to try and provide a bit more detail or ideas about where the answer to that might come from.
Okay, great. Let's try to clarify, and we'll follow up. We are we are running out of time, so there is one question I would pose, and then maybe try to follow up on the other questions in the aftermath. So one question considering that the consultant frequently serves on bid evaluation committees. Do you intend to incorporate capacity building initiatives for the consultant staff as part of this process?
Yes, I mean, I think if the consultancy staff are in effect working with the borrowers, what we call implementation units, then that training would be available to them and they'd be treated as if they were part of the borrower staff. And there is a huge range of material available for borrowers to help develop their capacity in this area, of which consultants, they would be able to access that if they were working within that team. I think if it's an external consultant, then they'd be able to access the material in the same way that a supplier would in the public part of the website. But I think for an external consultant to access exactly the same material as a borrower, I think it would have to be in the context of them in effect being part of that borrower team.
Okay, great. There is one question I would also like to pose to you. Just the last one, we operate in the medical technology sector, specifically in the field of endoscopy. How can we increase our chances of participating in projects funded through World Bank Group? Maybe as a last broad question to you, Michael, and then we will have to move on. But as said before, we're going to take care to have everyone's question answered.
Sure. I think really all you can do is just keep an eye on the opportunities coming out, and you can use a search word in hunting for opportunities, and if endoscopy can be highlighted in that, then it should take you to the right place. I guess the difficulty might come if the project involves, for example, re-equipping an entire hospital, and endoscopes are just one of many items of equipment that might be needed that your company might not be able to cover, in which case you probably need to team up with someone else that was potentially bidding for a wider requirement. And that is why early market engagement becomes important, because if you get involved in that, if you see an opportunity and get involved in the early market engagement, then you'll be aware of the requirement, you'll be aware of other suppliers that are interested in that opportunity that you might be able to approach and team up with.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael. I believe we will also share our email of the Berlin World Bank Group office in the chat. So if you have any follow-up questions, you can also email us directly, and we will take anything in the chat that wasn't responded to and follow up with you. But first of all, thank you very much for this insightful discussion. We hope that this webinar has sparked your interest in learning more about the World Bank Group procurement opportunities. And we warmly invite you to join us for the next in-person segments of the Procurement Roadshow. Kati Schröder from the Agency for Business and Economic Development will now give us a short overview of what we have planned on our Procurement Roadshow in Germany, followed by an overview of GTAI's support services presented by Kirsten Hungermann. Over to you, Kati.
Yeah, thank you, Patricia. Hello, everybody. I am really happy to see that you all showing so much strong interest in our roadshow, and it's very much fun to organize these events. Yeah, just one word. At the Agency for Business and Economic Development, we offer advisory services to companies, yeah, and on founding, on financing, on project development, and we facilitate contacts worldwide. And regarding international financial institutions, we aim to increase the involvement of German companies in international projects by enabling them to better networking with key decision makers and more successful tendering. And our offer includes information on business opportunities, tendering and procurement procedures. Yeah, connection with decision makers, potential project partners on site, through events, through business trips, and the organization of expert dialogue between private sector and the development banks. And all these services are being offered as a package in this year's World Bank Roadshow, that we are organizing together with the World Bank's Berlin office and many other partners. The roadshow includes 5 sector-specific events. The roundtables offer you an opportunity for direct discussion with the heads of selected sectors and the procurement experts of the World Bank Group. And during the event, World Bank experts will explain how you can participate in tenders, what specific requirements apply, and what market opportunities are emerging while presenting the upcoming pipelines, going much more deeper and much more practical than today, I think. And at the same time, this event will provide also a forum for discussing industry trends and innovations from the private sector, and incorporating these into the World Bank's project design. In addition to the roundtables, we organize also trade fair visits, specific expert discussions and company visits in collaboration with our partners. And yes, it's the German Water Partnership, German RETEC Partnership, German Health Alliance, German Solar Industry Association, and the BDE. And I would like to take advantage of this moment to thank their representatives being here in the call for the great collaboration. Yes, as we showed in the previous slide, please, the first roundtables will take place in May at IFAD with water and circular economy. And they are followed by the roundtable on health in Tübingen. And next slide, please. Yes, at Intersolar, we organize a roundtable to renewable energies. And the last one is on digitalization, programmed for the last quarter of this year. You can find the dates, the locations, and registration pages on our website. And also our implementing partners provide information on how to sign up for these sessions. And I invite you to secure your slot right now. And for any further information, don't hesitate to contact me. You will find contact details as well as the link to our website on the last slide. And yes, I hope to see many of you at the round tables, and I thank you for your attention, and I hand over to Kirsten Hungermann.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Since we're running out of time, I promise to keep my remarks very short. Most of you will know Germany Trade and Invest, the international business promotion agency of the Federal Republic of Germany. Part of the export promotion and market access services of GTAI, or shall we say GTAI, consist of information about development cooperation and public procurement. This is what I will elaborate on. This is just a short glimpse at the financial institutions in development finance that we cover. And you can go to the next slide. Right. This slide shows the services that we offer in the field of development cooperation. So it's first of all information on donors, overviews and trends at the different financial institutions. Then it's our database on development projects in the planning stage, Projektfrühinformation, as we say in German, and then it's our database for tender notices, Ausschreibungshinweise. So very important for you to know in case you haven't worked with us so far. All the news items have a summary in German that makes it easier. And all the services that we offer are free of charge. In a nutshell, I would like to invite you to make use of our comprehensive platform on tenders and projects and development cooperation and just, go to our website. Then the next slides, I think we can skip. They guide you a little bit through our hardly complicated website to find the right place, but that will be fine. And if you don't find it, just feel free to contact us. So if we jump on to slide number 8, if you want to make sure not to miss any information that could be relevant for your company, do sign up for our tailor-made newsletter, which is called Tenders and Projects Daily. And finally, on slide number 9, you find all the contact details for me and my whole team. Feel free to contact us anytime. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kirsten. Now it's my turn to say thank you to all our speakers for sharing their perspectives today, and thank you to everyone who joined us and contributed questions and comments. I would like to specifically thank everyone at the Agency for Business and Economic Development and GTAI that helped us organize this kickoff webinar. Please register for the upcoming Procurement Roadshow events on the Agency of Business and Economic Development website or through the implementing agencies. You can also use the QR code on the slide. We will send you today's presentation, the World Bank Group's Berlin office email address, and share any other contacts that are relevant for you. And we'll follow up with questions. Thanks again for joining and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.